Auto chaps, I'm MagicalMike, and recently I've been playing Dirt 4 because I can't get enough rally gameplay at the moment, apparently. To begin with, I will say this up front, I think I have way more criticisms of the game than I have positives of. I can completely understand why the reviews are still mixed on Steam, however, the positives are still relevant and do eventually outweigh the significant list of downsides, because when all is said and done, the driving and the variety of cars and event types are the things that really matter, and I think that those are still a lot of fun to play with. So with that said, here's some thoughts and a quick review. Tuning is required on everything. Every single car feels understeery to the point of feeling like there's too much grip on these dirt roads. It feels wrong, I guess, and not like any other rally game that I've ever played, so whether it's realistic or not, it doesn't really matter to me. It's just that the cars don't rotate when you want them to, and that feels really off. Also, it feels like you don't get a lot of turn-in response because the brakes lock so easily. The important thing to know, though, is that this can be tuned out, and you can get cars that feel fun to drive. However, tuning needs some time and effort. You need a basic understanding of things to fix and change to get results. I'd recommend checking some YouTube videos for suggestions here and there if you're stuck, but for me it mostly came down to some diff changes, including some massive preload on the rears to prevent snap oversteer after braking, some anti-roll bar stuff, and lowering brake pressure quite a bit for the most part. Tuning actually needs some engineer levels as well. It means that you need to invest some time into the game before you can get stuff done. They can't do refined increments unless you hire a good chief, which means that it takes time to get to that level and get to that point where you can make the changes that you want quite reliably, which is why a lot of the complaints about the driving are still perpetuated. Yeah, it's not as good as Dirt Rally if you ask me, but I don't think it's as bad if you're willing to put the time in. Australia is absolute hell. I'm talking about the rally game, not the actual place itself. It's super fast, it has a bunch of sudden corners that are tighter than you think, also deadly fences that seem to magnetise you in, and crests that launch you all over the place. Co-driver pace notes are almost never accurate or detailed enough. Camber is, I don't think, ever mentioned, so you risk going too wide and throwing the car out of a corner, and jumps are never called soon enough to react to where you'll land in relation to the next corner, often going way too fast into them. Actually, the same applies to Sweden as well, now that I think about it. I had the most trouble in Australia with pace notes, but the Welsh stages can be hard too if you push too hard, and Sweden is, again, sometimes like that, but I managed to adjust much more easily to the Swedish stages than I did to... I think Australia's my hardest set of stages, I think. The co-driver banter is so stiff and repetitive after half the career mode. The car's a bit beaten up, but it's still mechanically sound. That's my awful impression of Nicky Chris there, sorry dude. That's not Welsh in any, that was more Irish. I've gone off the rails here. But I think I've heard various comments like that hundreds of times at this point, and I'm just like, stop, let me skip this and play the stage. I've also heard all of the intros to all of the music in the game so many times that it's driven me mad. Never had the same thing happen with Dirt Rally, and I think it's because these tracks have lyrics, so they never even get started, so to speak. This bit isn't even broken, it looks right, look close. Yeah, that, I'm not even trying to sing it. That song, I guarantee that there was a misheard lyrics, but they've stuck in my head, and every time I hear it I'm just like, clean racing rewards really kind of ruin the damage aspect for me. The whole point of having rallies do damage to you, because I just end up restarting if I nudge a bush or something ever so slightly. So the sponsor goals are mostly decent, but this one really kind of ruins the whole aspect for me. Australia tends to feature way too much on tons and tons of the early game career mode stuff, sometimes having multiple events in the same set, just Australian events and then, oh here's a break, and then here's some more Australian events. It's like, really? I mean, could you not have put some Michigan stuff in there instead? I don't know. I don't think I even saw Sweden until I got to the Group B rallies in the Historic Cup, which is a significant way into the career mode. The classified system is okay, but when you just want to buy a very specific car it's a bit tedious, but then again it does make things a bit more satisfying when that car does show up. I suppose that's how artificial scarcity works, right? Stages are all made up of blocks of scenery and nothing feels unique because you recognise patterns of corners all the time, and that started happening very, very shortly after starting the game. There's a number of corners on Australian stages, again, Australia being mentioned, that I know will follow each other, and the same goes for Welsh and Spanish stages as well. I just know that keep right into 3 left in Spain is always slightly on a camber on the right, and then into like a dodgy camber on the left, and then it's always on a cliff so it can throw the car like wildly out of control. So it's super dangerous. But I know that corner. I know it by heart. I can see it coming a mile off. I don't need the pace notes for it anymore. And there's tons of corners like that, you know? And the infinite stage generator promises a lot, but in reality it hurts the whole game by not having any handcrafted stages and recognising more and more set pieces. In fact, commonly you'll see the exact same scenery and corners multiple times within a single stage. All that said though, driving is pretty great once you tune it all to react the way you want it. It's no dirt rally, but it can get close. The event variety is much appreciated, I like most of the event types, and it breaks things up a lot instead of sticking to one car for ages. I mean, by all means you can if you want to master that one car, but I like swapping and changing and doing different event types. And Dirt 4 really adds that more video game feel to it by having that instead of just being a career mode and just being focused on doing the stages from start to finish. The changing weather conditions are also a treat. Sudden onset fog or dust can swoop in mid-stage and sometimes in patches and cause massive changes in your driving style. Trying to avoid crashing after going flat out for a while really messes with my groove, man, but I actually ended up loving it. The random mechanical issues that occur are also pretty good to shake things up a bit. You'll encounter engine misfires, brakes locking randomly, suspension not travelling properly, and intermittent headlight outages, which are absolutely killer in night stages, adding those extra layers of complexity that are much appreciated in a rally game like this. There's also the chance of crashing into another competitor on the side of the stage. You'll sometimes see them marked as hazards when they've had issues themselves as well, so it's not just you that has these issues now. Cross karts are insane and hard to drive on uneven surfaces, so basically if there's any kind of bumps or camber, you'll end up spinning out loads and loads if you're too aggressive, so good luck at Lydden Hill T1, because that's cambered, bumpy, and it's got tarmac on the inside. So good luck finding the right line through there. And speaking of rallycross stages, rallycross is pretty great when the AI aren't smashing you to pieces. An entirely different style of driving to master, and it's still a lot of fun to do. In fact, I think Dirt does rallycross quite well. Rallycross and all the similar events that have multiple cars on track at once are fun, but the AI has absolutely zero chill and does not care at all if you're in their way, and they will drive into you even if you're stopped, continuing to push you at about 5 miles per hour until you're slowly inched and ploughed out of the way, so good luck with those zero collision goals. The car variety is good, and the official liveries included are satisfying to get hold of. They're quite rare though, so good luck doing it. The RS200, both the Rallycross version and the Group B just normal version, has taken me absolutely ages to get because it's literally never shown up for me. Super disappointing actually, because I really want to drive that thing. And to be fair, you can rent it, but I want to own it as well, you know? The Joyride mode is a fun one for giving you a go with a lot of the cars, so I could technically play with the RS200 there too, and it allows you to do some quick, albeit repetitive, challenges around the Dirtfish junkyard area. It'll help you learn the nuances of a lot of those cars as well as challenge you to get slightly better with them, so yeah, cool. Sponsor, team and branding and facility management are welcome additions to spend money on as well, in terms of like long-term progression. There's not much to say there, but at least there's some long-term investments to be made that do actually make some kind of a difference. And so there you have it, a very mixed set of thoughts really, but the main point is that it is still fun to drive, and that's ultimately what matters in a driving game, isn't it? So thanks for listening, and I'll see you guys next time.